Hello and welcome back to the channel. Imagine the wisdom of the character of Sean Maguire, played by the late Robin Williams, in Good Will Hunting, combined with the whimsy of Sheldon Cooper, played by Jim Parsons in Big Bang Theory. A guy who goes around giving facts about random things to random people and saying things like the world is decaying and life is just a perception. If students in Dead Poets Society stood up on their desks to pay a tribute to their teacher, students in this film would rather just keep sitting on their chair till Mr. Paul leaves the room and probably throw a feast afterwards. The Holdovers is a beautiful story of friendship, loss, growing up, and growing old. The story is about these three characters: a rebellious teenager who is abandoned by his family on Christmas, Angus Tully, played by Dominic Sessa, a strict and unlikable teacher who hates that rich boys can get away with bad grades just because daddy built a new library, Paul Hunnam, played by Paul Giamatti, and a grieving mother who has lost a young son to war, Mary Lamb, played by Divine Joy Randolph, who has also won the Oscar for her role. Yay. These three people, who by the nature of their circumstances have to stay back in Barton Academy, a boarding school in New England during the holidays from 17 December to 31st December of 1970. Mary and Paul gel very easily, they get along quite quickly, but it takes time for Tully to finally come around. Thanks to Mary, who makes Paul realize that just because someone is rich doesn't mean they don't have it tough. They have one adventure after the other. Sometimes it is Tully jumping on the floor from a trampoline in the gym and dislocating his shoulder, Tully getting in trouble with a man with a hook for an arm, and Paul bailing him out by buying him beer. One night, the three of them end up at a party where Tully was finally having fun, and Mary decides to just get super drunk and emotional, and they have to leave. After all this, right around Christmas, Paul decides to get in the spirit and they take a road trip to Boston. This is where the unlikely friendship develops between Tully and Paul. Paul begins with being a father figure to Tully, and then they become comrades, and finally they become friends. We see the layers shedding. We get to learn why Tully behaves the way he does. He is just afraid of being hurt and forgotten. That's why he believes that friends are overrated. We learn that Paul wasn't such a stickler for rules all the time. He did have a wild streak, which he let go of, and he does not allow himself to be happy or free because he thinks his face is not meant for romance. Both of these characters are pretty much cut from the same cloth. Someone who pretends to enjoy being alone but is in need of just a little bit of love. Tully makes Paul realize that his intentions are in the right place when it comes to being a teacher, but he could soften up a little bit. And Paul makes the ultimate sacrifice for Tully so that he can continue to live the life that he's come to enjoy so much. They all set foot into 1971 with new realities, as Paul so rightly says to Tully, in a conversation much like at the end of Good Will Hunting. Your past doesn't have to dictate your future, and that what happened to you was not your fault. One of the best things about the film is its music. Music has been very subtly used to carry forward the screenplay. There are some still shots of characters getting ready for bed or getting ready to go out to a party while a melody plays in the background. Every song from the start of the movie is played such that it gives that feeling of nostalgia attached to that time of the year when old trees shed leaves to give way to new ones. A song that comes up twice or thrice, including the end of the movie, Crying, Laughing, Loving, Lying by Labi Sifre. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. The lyrics go, crying never did nobody no good, no how, that's why I don't cry. Laughing sometimes does somebody some good somehow, that's why I'm laughing now. Holdovers in a nutshell is a tale about unlikely friendships. People who can make you feel seen and heard and take your case and make you laugh are your people. And they try to recreate a dessert by setting fire to ice cream and cherry using Jim Beam sometimes. And await bad news by holding your hand. And when life gets tough, they just say to you, you can do this. Because as Paul says, life is nothing but a henhouse ladder. It is short and shitty. You will shed a tiny tear of happiness at the end of this movie and feel a tiny part of you has been healed. You can enjoy the film on rent on Amazon Prime Video. Thank you for watching.